Okay, so we are beginning our online international education fair and the webinar is about to start. I can see we have about 100 students. I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope this is going to be a useful information when you're going to be attending. Till the end of the webinar, you will be able to learn about the scholarships, application fee waivers, the COVID-19 updates, and many more. So watch till the end and ask any question that you have. I hope it's going to be worth. Thanks.
And we are the world's largest trainer for the FAA, that's the Federal Aviation Administration, for your aircraft maintenance. That's the engineers that build, maintain, repair aircraft. Very important function for the economy of all nations, but mostly for the individuals. It's a very promising career. And I want to tell you a little bit about it because there's not a lot that people understand about the engineering aspect. Let me move on up. The Aviation Institute of Maintenance has 13 locations in the United States. 11 of those were approved for the international student to attend. You can see on the screen right now, those are the locations where international students can attend. The largest campus is Atlanta, Georgia. I point that out because they offer the F1 student visa, which is an associate degree, and then all the others are M1 visas. The most critical thing in aviation is having a federal government license, and that license is the FAA mechanic certificate with a rating in airframe and power plant. Altogether, there's over 4,000 active students. Let's see, on the next slide, I wanted to point out the two primary programs are the aircraft maintenance technician. The tuition for that program is about $16,500 an academic year. Also during that time, students are assisted with student services. Student services helps them while they're in school from everything from transportation issues, the housing issues, things like that, needing a ride to school. I have a toothache, just about everything you have. The other aspect is the student placement. They're the ones that arrange for the employers to come to the school to meet students. We have about every 2 months, we have different groups coming into the school and they're interviewing students that are going to be graduating within the next couple of months. So job opportunities, there's over 750,000 positions are needed over the next 20 years. That's from the Boeing forecast, the Boeing company. I wanted to point out that we are a family of colleges. AIM is our largest programs. Centura College is business and allied health programs. Tidewater Tech Trades is a trade school. They do automotive, welding, building maintenance, and HVAC. Entry requirements for AIM and for the other schools. You can see them listed there. I want to point out that the ESL requirement, if you have had English language, and in India, English is a native language, but we have experienced some individuals that had difficulty. So therefore, it may be that a person is still required to have a English language test. It all depends on the interaction, their secondary education, and in some cases, their college. If you have college and the course was taught in English, it can be waived. You'll see the age is 18, and that's because of the housing requirement for international. high school graduate certificate, or it could be waived with a college transcript. Have to have a copy of a valid passport. Passport needs to be valid 6 months after the end of the program. And they have to have validation for the financial. The financial, the embassy is looking to see that it doesn't matter which college you go to, they're looking to see you can afford the tuition and the cost of living in the United States during that time frame. Do want to point out too that on an F1 visa at any institution, you're allowed by ICE to work for 20 hours per week outside the school, starting with the second academic year. So roughly about 7 months into the program. You may work at a campus if there is a job within the campus during the first academic year. Okay, accreditations, affiliations. We are accredited with the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. As you can see, Department of Education, Veterans Programs, and the FAA. Also mentioned in there about the regional, but the Asia Pacific, and you have the Middle East area that India falls under. They have over 257,000 in Asia, but I think the numbers over in your category for India specific was more like, I'm trying to think right now. It was somewhere in the 30,000 range, I believe. But if you go to the Boeing forecast, you can pull that up, or you can contact me and I can share that link as well. I wanted to point out, the income potential for individuals. You can see down there, they're rating other mechanics and engineering, but you can see that the aircraft mechanic, the average is about $67,000. That's according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor. And from that website, you can look up any career choice that you'll be considering and see just what the duties are, as well as what the income potential is. I highlighted a couple of the programs that are most often selected. The AOS degree is Aviation Maintenance Technology. The other program is the Aircraft Maintenance Technician. Both of those two programs are 21 months in length. Our program, students go for 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, with the exception of those in the degree program. They also go for 21 months, but they have to attend class on Friday just to complete their general education courses. And as soon as they complete their gen ed courses, then they return to a 4-day schedule. One thing with our program, we are accelerated. You were in school 50 hours of the week. I wanted to point out too that with the COVID-19 right now, that the schools have been closed. All students are attending online for the classes or the classroom course. But then when they get into, when they return to school, they have to make up all the shop projects and all the lab work. And roughly 1,000 hours of shop and lab in the entire program. So you spend 50% of your time working on aircraft, helicopters, learning the engines, pulling them apart, putting them back together. And this is on all types of aircraft. We listed in some of the career paths, which you go into the various industries. The regional airlines, the major airlines, are the most desired positions. They also pay the highest income. With the major carriers, after 9 years of employment, the union scales $112,000. So unlike most liberal arts programs, the income is quite rewarding. Some of the other non-aviation sectors are robotics, the oil industry, Disney, companies like that, because the aircraft maintenance technician is a troubleshooter. He has to understand, or she has to understand, not only the intellectual parts, but the artistry, being able to work with your hands, and troubleshooting. So it's not enough just to be able to fix something, but you have to understand normal operations. And then when something doesn't work normal, there's a process to troubleshooting to detect a problem and then solve that problem. You can see on this slide, we have listed, there's 10 intakes a year. So roughly every 5 weeks, we have a graduation on a Thursday. We have orientation on a Thursday or a Friday, and then we'll have a new class start on a Monday. So 10 times a year. Our next start is in May. I think it's May the 11th, then June the 15th, July the 20th. There's only 2 months a year we do not have a start, but they still are pretty much every 5 weeks. There are 2 1-week breaks, the spring and fall. And during that time, it's a 6-week period between starts. You can see the hours there. We do have day classes, night classes. One thing I want to point out is that if you were a student and you were excelling in a program, but you struggled in one area, perhaps in electricity, you could come back in at night, get some help. If you're a day student, you can come in at night and get some help, or you can come in on Friday. There's no charge for any assistance or any extra lab work. Scholarships is one thing we get a lot of questions about. We have 2 scholarships. Most every student can qualify for the 2,500, and that is a 3.0 GPA, and the scholarship is applied to the first year's tuition. You see, there's also a recommendation from the counselor. The counselor, sometimes we're asked, I've been out of high school for several years. We will accept a recommendation from a community leader, organization such as a church, or your employer. The larger scholarship is a 15,000 merit scholarship. You would be competing for any applicant in the calendar year. It's a $15,000 scholarship. We look for high scholastic ability, high English score or speaking and writing ability. We also request 3 written recommendations, and then there's an essay that you write on why I choose a career in aviation. That is applied at $5,000 to the tuition on each academic year, as there are 3 academic years within the program. I also want to say that on the 3rd academic year, you also take your federal government exams, and that price is included. So we cover that. I touched on student services earlier, but I do want to point out that the faculty are always there to help. All the faculty are salaried. They are FAA licensed engineers or mechanics, if you prefer. And then we have our student services and career services. Another common question is about OPT, optional practical training. I mentioned about the career services that employers come into the school building and they meet with a group. This would be someone that's graduating within about 2 months. So the demand for the career positions are so high that they come to us. We have partnerships with the Boeing Company, Gulfstream, Cessna, Delta Airlines, and major carriers. So they all come in and they typically will meet in group. And then in that session, they're watching the individuals, looking for questions. They're also looking to see who's playing with their cell phone. They have already looked at your grades. They've already talked with the staff about your attendance and behavior. And what they're looking for, and this is good advice for anyone, is somebody that's a team leader. They're looking for someone that is not the class clown. They look at your attendance. They want to see if you come to school on time, because that's a habit. And airlines are very much a on time or on schedule employer. These are but a few of the companies that hire graduates. And some of them we have apprenticeship programs with, such as Delta Airlines, Allegiant Airlines, United. So if you're thinking of aviation, in the United States, there's roughly 180 schools that do the program or offer the program we do. Some of them are colleges, community colleges, and universities. So why go to AIM? We have an accelerated program. In 21 months from the day you start, you can be graduating. You can have a degree at the same time. But many employers also have educational programs. They will pay for your further education, but you have to have a license to be hired. We have coast to coast locations, 11 locations from the East Coast to the West Coast. We've been training students in aircraft maintenance. We're the world's largest trainer for that program. Roughly 2 out of every 5 come from AIM that graduate every year. And I want to thank you for your time, for coming in. Apologize for the delay there. It's 1 a.m. in the United States right now, where I'm at, and had just a little bit of difficulty with the slide. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
So this brings us to the end of the webinar. I hope the information that you have gained today is going to be useful for you for making an application to the university. If you still have any question or any query about applying to the university, then you contact one of the study metro representative. Thank you so much again for joining this webinar. Have a good one.